one person that I feel like kind of got disrespected by midseason was Tyus Jones. And we talked about him, months ago. He was one of my breakout candidates. He really only had one bad month, and that was in November, where he averaged 10 points with 5 assists. And since then, man, he's been absolutely outstanding, man. This guy's a top 30 player. He's up to 14 points a game, 7 dimes. He's just coming off a double-double. This is a guy that I think got a lot of disrespect, but I think he's finally coming around. The one thing that I'm hoping doesn't hurt his fantasy value going forward for the rest of the season is getting traded, which I think is actually a really high possibility, just considering how bad the Wizards are and what he could do for a contending team.
Tyus Jones has been an underrated player his entire career. Even when he was in Memphis, this is a player you could find off of waivers, and he would give you a good amount of good efficiency, good assists. And now he's up to scoring a slightly since he's been in Washington. But Tyus Jones, man, an underrated asset in the fantasy community just in general. Sometimes there's guys that find their place in the top 30, and we don't respect them as good fantasy players because they're not great NBA players. And I think it's tough to find that balance of fantasy versus real. And to be honest, he's an elite level point guard when it comes to fantasy.
Yeah. Assist to turnover ratio. I mean, he's a good real life point guard and a really solid fantasy point guard as well. Another player, CJ McCollum, is top 20 now. He's officially 16th in per game value. Did you see that coming? And I feel like no one really talks about how great of a season CJ McCollum is having after such a serious injury or ailment that he had, in the middle of the season.
CJ's always kind of had that, where he's been underrated in the fantasy community because normally he's behind Lillard, but since he's come to New Orleans, he's taken on this point guard role. And I don't think we've been giving that enough credence. On a per game basis, when you're a top 20 player, like that should be in the fantasy community, that should be notarized, right? Like we should know that. And I don't think there's enough people that even know he's probably in that range. And to be averaging 20 and 4 and 5 with the efficiency that he has, to get a steal a game, to get 3 threes plus a game, right? Like this is an elite player. And you were getting him in the 5th round, 6th round, able to snag him up.
I mean, it's the efficiency that he's doing it with too, right? Like he's shooting 47%. Like I feel like when most people were drafting CJ, they're thinking they're probably going to have to punt that field goal percentage over the last couple of years. But also what he's doing defensively, man, 2 stocks. I don't think I expected CJ McCollum to average almost a block a game on top of, a steal and a little bit over a steal. So I think that's the biggest difference for me is like, I didn't anticipate him being that much of an impact defensively as he's been on top of the scoring and the dimes that we're pretty used to. Thanks for tuning in. And if you haven't already, man, join a fantasy basketball team. You can download the Yahoo Fantasy app or go to yahoofantasy.com. Get entered to win a $100 e-gift card to spend at NBA.com. Why not? It's free and you get to play some fantasy hoops. So do that. We'll see you next week on Get to the Points.